Sessa band, what? Sessa band only rest in December. Sessa band, what? Sessa band only rest in December. Sessa band.
Yo, what up? This is the Office Chats 2017, our first episode, and this is the whole brand new revamped Office Chats. What we're going to do moving forward right now, it'll be the team, and we'll always invite a guest. And tonight, we got like a 5FM DJ, Ms Cosmo out here, blessing us with the Office Chats. So, it is that office, where like we have a Christmas party every week and a celebrity comes through.
I better be invited to the Christmas party. And I better get a gift. Anyway. Done.
You don't know the behind the scenes demands she's been giving us actually, She came with even her own makeup. We were trying, it's just like, I'm done.
Anyway.
Hey, yo, so, we all know what's happening right now. And I think the biggest thing, in one weekend, like Nasty C left Free World, which apparently was a part of Free World, It's like a guy building his own label saying, I'm out, I don't know who he tells, but like, I guess he tells us. We saw this weekend Fifi Cooper, Benchmark, Aries, Flames, literally walked out of Ambitious, We saw last year Kid X, Nomuzi left Cash Time. Mags also left Cash Time also like earlier this year.
Cinnamon also left Free World Music as well.
And then you also have like what else? You got Ricky that left Motif. Rick left Motif last year. Reason left Motif. So I think there's a problem just generally with the structure of these managements / labels. So we're going to chop it up and just get opinions. We got some opinions from professionals, managers, even some of the guys who probably experienced this, and we're going to talk around that. But let's just start off the table. Ms Cosmo, as I guess, what do you think is breaking all these management labels? What do you think, just generally?
I think the biggest issue that's not necessarily breaking the labels, but rather breaking the relationship with the label and the artist, is clear communication. I think that's the bottom line for everybody. Because a lot of the time you'll find, maybe say, an artist doesn't know anything about legal matters. They don't understand what they're getting themselves into. They're just like, yo man, I got a hot beat, I got dope verse, let's do this thing, you know what I mean? And for them, they're just like, as long as somebody can put some money behind it, let's get it. And they understand, I think from a layman's terms perspective, an artist does understand that if you're going into a label, you're going in there kind of giving of yourself so that they can invest in you. I think the biggest issue obviously then comes out with what does anybody take out of the relationship? Going in, we both know you must just bring the reps. The label must just bring the money. But what's happening afterwards? And I think that's where kind of the blurry lines kind of come in, because then it's like, but I didn't expect that. Oh, but you said this and that. And that's where the he said, she said situation comes in.
Okay. Priestess?
I agree. Like she's saying, I think after the initial thing, we all know that people want to sign because they think it's better that way, and financing yourself is difficult. I think maybe what labels should be doing is explaining to artists the expenditures that are going into their careers. That makes it so much more clearer, or you don't end up, you end up gigging and having certain things that are happening around you. You think you're okay, you think you're making money, but there are costs being incurred towards your brand the whole time that you were not aware of. So, I spoke to another record label exec, Tunism.com, and he was just explaining that even if you're gigging, there's some gigs where you just fake it till you make it. So we're getting into a gig, you're doing it for free, the label will pay for your drinks, will pay for everything, will fly you out to Durban for the gig, but you're not getting paid for it. Those are costs incurred by the label that also have to be made back until such time as there's demand for you as a performer to actually get paid for these gigs. So those kind of things a lot of artists don't understand. They just think they're just going to rap, their song is going to come out, the PR thing just happens because that's what the label does. Some PR activities require payments, like the expenditures as well. So those kind of things, I think maybe if labels explained that your video cost me 100K. We need to make it back. This campaign you're doing is going to cost us 50K. So that every time an artist is doing something, they don't just think it's the perks of being signed. They are aware that there's actually money being spent here, and I need to do my best to make sure that we can make it back as a label and for me to get a profit. So yeah.
So basically, it's almost like, I've seen it before, you have a situation where if Ms Cosmo's got a show, she's booked in Durban, and we call up Ms Cosmo and we go, yo, Ms Cosmo, I got a new artist called X and X, you know? And Ms Cosmo goes, okay, cool, you can open up before my set. So I'm paying for the artist to fly, I'm paying for his accommodation, I'm paying already, but he's not even making me money. Already that's an expense.
Precisely,
If literally like keeping our books essentially. So that promo show, you're already getting paid. I've seen artists, they go, but Cosmo got paid. And then someone goes, so that means they cheated you. But meanwhile, you were doing a promo. You know what I mean? Okay, I think as a fan, like Mulalo, you know, you're a fan of the music. How does it come across though from a fan's perspective when you guys see this and you go, I mean, you follow Cash Time, you always talking about the labels, about the camaraderie, but how does it come across when you guys see this and this thing breaks apart, just from a fan's perspective?
Well, from a fan's perspective is, you know, we never think about what goes on behind the scenes, right? We always like, okay, we're gonna try to protect our heroes, which is the artists, right? We're gonna be like, okay, the artist never does anything wrong. It's like, okay, the label is the one that is wrong. We never think about, okay, the contracts, the legal what, the expenditure what. We don't think about it. We don't even care about that. We just like, okay, yo, we want our heroes to be taken care of, and we don't care about anything else. Like, if the artists are like being led astray or doing things out of hand or whatever, we expect you, the labels, to protect them and bring them back on the road and like, yo guys, this is how things are done. So we to be honest, we don't care about what happens in the background. We just want our artists to be taken care of. And
let me ask you this. So, because obviously the artists will be the most vocal about what they're going through, which also makes you guys defend them or care about them and want them to be protected. How would you, like in situations where artists are leaving labels and whatever, how would you as a fan like the guys to communicate the situation? Like, because you say they're the ones that create this perspective, they kind of give you the lead to defend them. But in reality, if we took that away, how would you like artists to communicate to fans about what's happening? Do you think it's right for labels to come out and be saying, you know, stuff that is between the two guys? Do you think it's right for artists to come out, you know, blaming the label? Like, how do you want to look at that relationship if something is falling out between label and artist?
Well, we just want the truth. To be honest, we just want the truth. We don't want any cover-ups. We don't want you to confuse us with the jargon, the business jargon, or whatever it is that happens in the background. We just want you guys to tell us, okay, this is where we as a label went wrong, and this is where the artists went wrong, and hence this is the conclusion, and this is where we are.
Can I ask a question? Pertaining to how things kind of unfolded this past weekend, which
within Ambitious,
obviously you're saying you want the truth and you want, obviously the artists will complain and they'll be like, hey, ABCD 1, 2, 3. A lot of the time their mediums are social media. So whether they're ranting on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever the case may be, they're the ones ranting, you are getting that information, you're like, but you're getting one side of the story. The moment you get the other side of the story on those same mediums, all of a sudden it's but you're supposed to be a professional body, don't communicate like this. How exactly do you want them to communicate it? Because if you don't get access to the press release, you were never told. If it's on Twitter, it's unprofessional. What do you want people to do?
That's a good question.
I think this is also a case where people love favoritism. It doesn't become about facts anymore. Exactly. It becomes about favoritism.
Who tells a better story?
And not even that. If the recording labels were still owned, if all of them were white people, they were gonna make it a race thing.
Yes.
if it's like if it's like politicians now, it's gonna be a political thing. So if it's like a guy who doesn't know anything, it's gonna be like that guy's inexperienced. So at the end of the day, you know, I've seen managers or companies that have a just explanation, but the artist has more fans, and the pressure of the fans and everything else. You know, when 1,000 people say something is right, even when it's wrong, it's gonna be right. That's how the world works. So there's also that favoritism. I mean, look, just speaking of some labels, you know, we got a quote from Cash Time, the Cash Time family, and we asked them, what do they think was the biggest mistake that they made for Kid X, Nomozi, and all of them to leave? And they said that maybe sometimes it's the brotherly approach, you know, build a family and building a family and being homies never works. They say they created a non-business environment in a business environment, you know, and which would eventually lead to a Cain and Abel situation. So you'll have a situation where the artist that's not as big as the biggest artist, he's obviously built a kinship with the big artist, but it's easy for them to be jealous. So they used an example of they might be working with Young Swiss now, who's there, and KO, who's there. So Young Swiss knows he has to go for his, you know, without him thinking about KO. So the whole brotherhood thing maybe also kills things. So I mean, right now we've seen it, not that we're naming cats, but we've seen how guys shout out their labels. You know what I mean? We've seen it with Death Row, you know, we've seen it with Bad Boy, we've seen it now with the same guys right now with the fallout with Ambitious, you know, we've seen it like once again with I mean, we're seeing it with Mabala, even though nothing has happened there as yet, although they say guys like Pro have left or whatever. But the point is that maybe that brotherly thing is also a big problem, you know?
Creating the lines, dividing the lines between manager and artist.
Okay, quickly, can I just answer your question? I thought about it now, and I think I gave a good answer. So I think the labels should just have like an open line between them and the fans. Like, don't just give us the story. Okay, this is what happened. We want you guys to give us the opportunity to ask you the questions and answer them truthfully and
On what
objectively.
platform is my question?
Yeah, in Twitter or Instagram
But
Live.
then it's unprofessional.
That's a mess.
Yeah, okay, sharp.
That's what I'm saying.
So
This is the
this is
easiest
the Sony
way.
Live account.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean?
It's the easiest way to have access to.
I
to
understand
the
that.
label,
I
so-
understand
But they're
that.
not
So
obligated to the fans.
they're not
That's another
exactly. They're not obligated to the fans, but at some point they do have to answer to them because the fans are the ones buying the music. So if they don't speak to the fans, then there's already another problem on its own. So I agree with you. Maybe social media isn't the platform for them to have that conversation because it does kind of come off a little unprofessional. But maybe it's a case of now these labels trying to find different ways to communicate these things. Maybe they should have an open chat line, I don't know, or maybe they should have monthly newsletters or like weekly newsletters or whatever to kind of have says to basically say, okay, fine, you guys can also email your questions here and we'll make sure that we reply. If they don't respond, then they're not holding up their end of the bargain. Things like that to kind of keep that open line that you're talking about. But the question is, would you actually, as a fan, would you actually use that platform? Because it's all good and well for you to lash at somebody on social media. The moment it comes back, it's like, why bang Jelinda was But you ask the question.
The facts never trend.
Ever.
The facts never trend. It's the opinions.
spice.
It's the opinions
Yeah.
that trend, right?
Sessa Benz, what? Sessa Benz only rest in December. Sessa Benz, what? Sessa Benz only rest in December.